What it do, sports betting nation? Ace is High here with you. I got the man to my right, the man in the hot seat, Mr. Hardways Mike. How you doing today, Hardways?
I'm doing great, Aces. Good to be here. It's a steamy one again today in the Chicagoland area. Have you stepped outside today? It is toasty out there. It's going to make for some warm games. I think there's a game in Comiskey, guaranteed rate field today for the White Sox.
Comiskey, showing your age again, my friend. But yes, they are playing the Mariners, I believe, with Castillo on the mound for the Mariners. Maybe we can get into that game. It's hot. It's going to be hotter throughout the week. Something to watch with these baseball games. You know, that humidity too, that can impact home runs, things like that for tomorrow. Maybe that's something we can discuss on the podcast, but it's warm out there. I like to stay inside on these days.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll certainly touch on that tomorrow because tomorrow is Dinger Tuesday and the weather does have an impact, but we got to make sure because the books know this as well. Everything that we know, the books know too. So if they know the ball carries more in the heat and humidity, then we got to be careful that we're not just taking lines because we think we're going to get a lot of home runs, right? We still have to make sure that we're finding the best line and make sure that it's a good line relative to the market before we jump into that. But we'll talk about that on the podcast tomorrow. For today, let's jump off with something. I want to get it out of the way because I have to talk about it. The BMW Championship. Now, I'm guessing you didn't watch it, but we did have Woj on the podcast last week. He had brought it up, and I watched it, and I have to say I am apoplectic because I had Scotty Scheffler to win, and in the podcast earlier in the week, I had talked about how he just hasn't put it together and looked like he was going to cruise to victory. He was tied with Fitzpatrick coming in the final round, and then Viktor Hovland shoots a 61 to end up 17 under par. That 61 is a course record for Olympia Fields. So Viktor Hovland crushing my Scotty Scheffler, and not just me, but a lot of Scotty Scheffler tickets out there. Incredible feat for him. I play that course. It is not an easy thing to do, and Viktor Hovland comes through as the BMW Championship winner this year. Did you watch any of it, or did you hear anything about it on the newscast?
No, we had Djokovic playing Alcaraz in the Cincinnati Open Championship. You think I'm going to waste my time watching golf when I can watch two champions play some tennis? I did not catch a moment of it.
Well, let's touch on that then, the Djokovic-Alacaraz match, because that was something in and of itself was not. Djokovic ends up winning, but that went to 3 sets, and I believe it went to 7 games for the winner for each set.
It was incredible. They went tiebreak second set. I don't remember about third set. I thought Joker took it. I could be wrong. Alcaraz actually crushed him first set. It didn't look like Djokovic was going to be able to come back in that match. The old wily veteran, though, he called a timeout, injury timeout, got his groove back, came through. Man, it's just those guys. It's such an incredible thing whenever you get to watch those two play each other because you are watching champions play, two guys at the top of their game play each other, the best in the sport. And it's always exciting. It was a very close match. Look forward to something like that, maybe in the U.S. Open.
Yeah, that's exciting. It certainly was. I ended up taking Djokovic versus Alcaraz. I took him to win in straight sets on Saturday, and that ended up coming through. I didn't watch anything for the Cincinnati Open yesterday. In the women's tennis, I believe that Coco Gauff won that one. Did she not?
Yeah, she won. She took down Muchova, I believe. I'm not too familiar with Muchova, but she did win that. And we've talked about Coco Gauff here on the podcast. At least I have a few times. I think she's someone to watch out here for in that U.S. Open. Hey, not only college football starting, we get U.S. Open. We get the draws coming out on Thursday. We get that tournament starting next Monday. WTA in play. They're playing in Chicago right now. You're talking about BMW. The WTA, again, it's a lower tier tournament. The big players aren't playing in it, but they're playing in Chicago as we speak.
The U.S. Open, now that's a 3-week tournament. You're right, that starts on Monday. It looks like, and it goes through, the final will be on Sunday, September 10th. So that's exciting that we have that coming up. And as you mentioned, let's just touch on it. NCAA football, we just had the last Saturday without football for 6 months. And that is super exciting because we have Saturday, August 26th, which is just 5 days away. We've got Navy, Notre Dame, 1:30 p.m. on NBC. Mark it down. I'll be in front of the TV on Saturday for sure.
Well, hopefully we can get into one of those games today. I'm hoping we get into some college football now that it started. We got to ramp this up. We got some new tools over there on sportsbettingintel.com. So I'd love to get a chance to maybe use one of those today. But you're the man that leads us on Monday. You're the one that leads the dance. Where are we going today?
Let's talk MLB before we jump into it. I do want to close it out with NCAA football because that'll be a big focus of what we have going on in the podcast coming forward. But let's talk Let's talk the Mets and the Braves. We've got to talk that game, right? Because that is an NL East showdown. The Mets are well under 500. Disappointing season for them, 58-67. The Braves, on the other hand, are doing more than what was expected, and they were expected for a lot. So we've got that game. It's a 6:20 p.m. Central Time. It is in Atlanta. They've got David Peterson on the mound for the Braves, 3-7 record with a 5.45 ERA versus Alan Winans for the Braves. And I don't know this guy at all. 1-0 record with a 1.59 ERA. What do you know about this guy?
He comes in for relief pitching sometimes, doesn't really start. I mean, the Braves, they're just doing what they can here because aside from our top starters, Strider, Fried, the Salt Man, Mr. Morton, it's questionable for the Braves. They need to pick that up. So they're trying what they can, getting guys in there. I mean, we're still at a -215 with that's the best line right now on FanDuel for the Braves. You mentioned how this pitcher, I'm a huge Braves fan. I don't really know much about him. And they have him on the mound. The Braves still pitching that -215 number. Can you believe that?
No, I was flabbergasted, and that's one of the reasons I want to talk to this as well. A guy that I barely have heard of this year, a relief pitcher who has one start under his belt, is coming in, and the Braves are still -215 best line that we're seeing. So tell me, I mean, it's got to be all offense, right? It's got to be the fact that the first 7 batters in rotation can hit a home run on any pitch.
They absolutely can. And there's probably a man on base when they do it, and I believe you're the man who likes to use the old term from the Bronx Bombers, murderer's row. That's what we have with the Braves. Like you said, top 7 hitters, anyone can go deep. There's usually a man on base. So count on them getting runs all the time. The Mets, they've had a disappointing season. They're 23 back on the Braves right now. The Braves they're in second place are the Phillies. They're 13.5 back. So Braves really in the driver's seat in that division, really in the driver's seat in the whole NL and maybe the MLB for that matter. But you're not going to get that better than -200 number offer on the Braves. I don't want to bet them here at -215.
No, that's too much for me. If you do want to bet the Mets, though, you can get them at +188 over on Bet Rivers. So just be aware of that. Now, speaking of the Bronx Bombers, the Yankees are probably thankful that they have a day off today because they just lost their 8 in a row. We covered the games as part of our series spotlight, the Red Sox and the Yankees game. The Red Sox swept them this year. The Yankees have now lost 8 in a row. They did have a little bit of offense yesterday, but for the first 2 games, they could muster only 5 hits or something like that. It's just been a very disappointing season for the Yankees just in general. And now, but we've got the Red Sox and the Astros starting at 7:10 p.m. Central Time. And so for that game, we've got Christian Javier on the mound for the Astros, 8-2 record with a 4.49 ERA versus James Paxton for the Red Sox, 7-3. And the Red Sox are hot now. They've been heating up, and they are 66-58 now. James Paxton is 7-3 record with a 3.34 ERA. The best line for the Red Sox, they are the dog in this. It is in Houston. The Red Sox +110 on both PointsBet and Caesar Sportsbook, and looks like DraftKings as well, versus the Astros -122, which is actually a pretty decent price there for the Astros on Bet Rivers. Everywhere else has a -126 to a -130. Are you choosing a side in this game?
No, I'll stay away from this one. The yesterday, I guess I won't go into that too deep, but I'm going to stay away from this one just to put it short. Paxton has been a man that I bet on a couple times. The reason if I was going to put money on this, they opened this line, Red Sox -118. They're now the dog at +110. So Paxton on the mound, knowing that we had that dog flip, the line originators originally thought the Red Sox were the better team, or maybe they still do. We just got too much money coming in for them to change it. I'm just going to stay away from this one altogether.
That's fair. But we'll stay away from a couple of other games, including the Royals and Athletics. Both teams are well under 500 this year. The Athletics are continuing to show teams how not to play baseball. We do have one game that already got postponed, the Reds and the Angels, and that's likely due to the upgraded hurricane that we have over on the West Coast there. But surprisingly, the Rangers and the Diamondbacks are playing tonight, and that's a late game. That's at 8:40 p.m. If you're looking at that, the Rangers are trotting out Jordan Montgomery, I believe, for 8-10 record with a 3.30 ERA. He has slipped a little bit as of late, while the Diamondbacks have Slade Cessione on the mound, and he does have a 3.38 ERA, but I believe he's a reliever coming in. He's got a 0-0 record so far this year. If we look, the Diamondbacks have certainly surprised. They're over 500 this year, but they are the dog at home on this, +140 on BetMGM, which is the best line across the board. If you want to back the Rangers, who are doing really well, they're 20 games over 500, -152 on Bet Rivers. I've been keeping an eye on the Rangers this year just in general. Have you been watching them, Aces?
I caught their game yesterday with Scherzer on the mound. Scherzer dropped it, which that was a tough loss for the Rangers. I haven't watched a ton of their games, but I love Scherzer. So now that he's over there, I like to watch their games when he's on the mound. Again, them losing that game yesterday kind of makes me want to put the Diamondbacks on the board. But we just talked about the Astros. Now that we're getting close to that playoff contention, players I don't want to say they don't try in the beginning of the season or they don't try their best, but there's less incentive for them to go out and try their hardest every day. But now that Astros team, they're only 2.5 games above the Astros. The Astros sitting 2.5 behind the Rangers here. So if that weren't the case, I'd definitely be nailing the Diamondbacks on this one at plus 140. The line opened plus 105. Essentially, the lines makers, the originators, thought a pick 'em on this one. I think there was some news with the pitchers changing, but still, I think that this is going to come down to the hitters in the game. I might drop a little bit on the Diamondbacks just because the Rangers, they did not look well. Looked very good yesterday. Scherzer did not have a good game. They could be a bit demoralized.
No, that's fair. Well, let's wrap up MLB. It is a bit of a smaller slate today. I think there's only 8 games now that we had the postponement. We do have a full slate tomorrow. No early games. We've got Dinger Tuesday starting at 5:40 with the Giants, Phillies, Rockies, Rays. And then it goes all the way up until 9:10, or actually, no, 8:40. Just be aware that some games might get postponed or even canceled or moved to a later date just because of the weather out west. But we'll see what happens there. And then a bit of a smaller slate on Wednesday. But you wanted to talk NCAA football. We've got 5 days. We are super excited for it. It doesn't feel like football season out there, but we are in it. We are in the thick of it. We've got an NFL preseason going on, which I've been mentioning on the podcast. Not sure if you've been listening, but the scores this year have been super exciting. Usually you get a lot of blah football, low scores. They've been really, really high-scoring games this year, which is hopefully lends itself to the regular season. Is there a game, NCAA football game, you want to touch on real quick?
I will say I have been listening. Stinky Aces over here does listen to your podcast every now and again. I got to listen to mediocrity to make sure I'm above it at the best. I'll jump into any game. I am so excited for this. I know we're going to be talking Notre Dame Navy at least a few times throughout this week. Maybe we skip that for now. No, can we jump into Notre Dame Navy? Let's just do this. Let's do it.
Notre Dame Navy, first game of the year. What do we got?
We got Notre Dame minus 20.5. You don't got that 3 touchdowns. You don't got that 21. You got a minus 20.5 on the spread. Best line right now is to get them over there on BetMGM at that 20.5 number, minus 110. You want to take them to win straight up? You're laying 1,100. You're laying 1,100 to get 100 back in your pocket. That best line is on Caesars. You want to fade the Irish game one. You want to take the American Pride, the Navy. I think the Madman Woj. This is an over the pond story. I'm not sure if you knew that, Mr. Hardways. This is over the pond. The Madman Woj is saying Navy might be taking an aircraft carrier to show up to this game for a little intimidation on those Irish. You want to take these guys? You think that intimidation is going to work? You can get a good money line bet over there on PointsBet. PointsBet really the best for everything on Navy. Plus 845. You get 845 back in your pocket for $100 win. Is that what you're doing?
Tough to not back our midshipmen, our experienced military men. But I'm just going to read directly from the Notre Dame Navy game preview from our This Week in College Football page, which is brand new to the site this year. Check it out, of course, over at sportsbettingintel.com. The Fighting Irish had the advantage with a more experienced team playing at home and a strong record against the spread last season. While the midshipmen should put up a good fight, Notre Dame should be the favorite to win this matchup. To me, this screams a Notre Dame blowout. I think I like Notre Dame. I might tease it down to 20.5 so we get that 3 touchdown spread there. Oh, actually, you said that's the main spread there. So 20.5, I like it. I like Notre Dame to win this one. I think that Notre Dame is really going to make a push for trying to get in that national championship conversation this year, and they're going to want to start it off right.
Well, here's what I'm doing. I'm not going to bet this one probably because I don't like to bet on the Irish. I have a soft spot in my heart for them. As people that like to make money, sports betting, we kind of stay away from those teams as best we can anyways. If I was going to go the other way, I'm going to give the other point of view. I'm looking at our game breakdown here on sportsbettingintel.com. You can go through everything, full game, first half, first quarter, compare all the lines across all this stuff. I'm going to jump into that first half tab. This is something that I was looking at throughout the past couple of days. It really strikes me as, if I was betting Navy, this is what I would do. You go over, look at DraftKings, plus 600 on Navy to win the first half. Now, maybe the teams with that, going across the pond, there's a lot that goes on with getting 100 athletes and all the staff, all the supplies, everything to go to a different country and play football. There's a lot that goes on. Maybe these teams don't come out right away. So maybe you get that push, but maybe you get that $600 back in your pocket for that $100 bet. If you're looking at the other book, first half line for Navy, you're looking at plus 470. You're looking at plus 475. You're looking at plus 475. I mean, plus 600 is a good number to the market. If you're betting Navy, I'm not, but if you're betting Navy, that's somewhere you might want to look to go.
That's fair. That's actually something to look into, and make sure you are checking sportsbettingintel.com and go to the game page so you can find the best first half line. But let's talk about something a little more competitive, probably. How about Utah and Florida? Now, I was on the College Football Rundown podcast last week to discuss the win totals for these conferences, both the Pac-12 and the SEC. Right now, that game's on August 31st at 7:00 p.m. Utah is the favorite in that. If you want to back Utah, you can get them at minus 265 over on Bet Rivers. Alternatively, Florida, you can get them over on PointsBet. And PointsBet, again, with the best lines for the dog here, PointsBet plus 240. You can also get that on FanDuel Sportsbook. It's down as low as plus 200 over on Bet Rivers. The spread is 6.5 or 7. If you want 6.5, you do have to pay a little bit, minus 120 on FanDuel and Rivers. Otherwise, minus 110. But you can get plus 6.5 at minus 102 on FanDuel for Florida. Do you have a lean on this game? I bring this game up specifically because it's a Pac-12 team and an SEC team, and a couple of should be not world beaters this year, but pretty good teams. I mean, Utah probably is going to compete for that Pac-12.
Yeah, I don't disagree. The thing about this game is last year, this was the most exciting. I mean, we were watching all the games. Opening day, you and I and our friends were always watching the games together. This was probably the most exciting game last year from opening day. I don't think we get that exciting of a game anymore. Last year it was in the swamp. You got to remember, Utah had to travel out there. Now Florida's going across the country to the west. They're going the other way to go play at Utah. I don't know that's going to be as competitive. I do have a lean. I have a lean on Utah. I'm looking at our game preview here. We got all the stats up for you and everything, but we have it color coded. Green is good, red is bad. You're looking at Utah here on our game preview. Yeah. It's just, they might as well change their team colors to green over this Florida team, because offensive total yards, passing attempts, passing touchdowns, rush yards, rushing attempts, rush touchdowns. You want to look over at the defense? It's no different. Utah's green and everything, just much better team last year than Florida. I think that's going to be the case this year. I'll be looking at the alts. You know me, I'm on the alts in college football. I'll probably be looking at the alts, but I'll be taking some plus money on Utah, minus 7.5, minus 8, depending where the books are when I make my bet.
Do you think you're going to get that? I'm sorry, you said minus 7.5, minus 8. Do you think you might get that as high as minus 9.5 and go with that key number of 10 there?
I'm not too big on the key numbers, because in my mind, here's what we're doing. We're betting on the number to be one different. You know what the probability of missing out on 1 point in a college football game is? Unless we're talking about a 2 or 3 score, the probability is not that high. So I don't really care about those key numbers too much. When we get in the 10, I do understand their importance. Don't get me wrong. Please don't shoot me emails, tell me I'm an idiot. But I'll jump into the game breakdown right here. Yeah, minus 7.5. We're looking at plus 102. See, kind of put my foot in my mouth there, because yes, I wouldn't take that plus 102 over minus 110 to get the half, to lose out on the half, I should say, on a 7, which is very key. But you were talking 10s, no?
Yeah, 9.5, 10. That's another key number I've heard in football, both NCAA and NFL. 3, 7, 10. There.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at the 9.5 and I'm looking at 10. I'll just look at Bet Rivers for both of them. Plus 116 for minus 9.5, plus 128 for minus 10. I would probably prefer that plus 128 on that minus 10 number for Utah, because worst case scenario, you're getting a push. Now, if it had the hook on it, it'd be a different story, but worst case scenario, you're getting the push. I'm fine with that. But over that 9.5 plus 116, I would prefer the plus 128 back in my pocket.
No, that's fair. This is going to be an exciting game to watch. I think certainly this will be, as I mentioned, on Thursday this year, this game. Questions for both teams. The big question for Utah is tight end, best pass catcher on the team, Brand Kuithi. Is he going to be healthy starting the season? Cameron Rising is the same question. And then Florida's trying out a new quarterback, former Wisconsin quarterback, Graham Mertz. So what does that offense look like? But if we just look through, again, the game breakdown, you look at those team stats and it's green almost across the board for Utah. And that's a reminder to check out our game in detailed analysis on each and every NCAA football game. We've got a game preview. We've got team stats on both sides of the ball. We've got advanced stats, and you can look and see it looks like almost probably 30, 35 team stats there. And then we've got the schedule breakdown, the line data, basically everything you need to bet on those games in one package there. Anything else you want to talk about in regards to NCAA football? We'll certainly ramp that up the rest of this week.
No, I'll be talking about it all week. I'll be talking about it on the college football rundown. I hope everybody checks out our episodes because we're going to be big on that this week and especially next week too with the real Open. This is week 0, right? We got week 1 next week.
Week 0, yeah. We've got the opening week is week 1 and it starts on Thursday the 31st, and then it goes through that Saturday. So we'll certainly be together watching the games. And then that's it for us today. I will see you in our draft room this evening. We have our college fantasy football draft. So I got to get off this podcast so I can get mentally ready here. As always, I like to get myself going and get hyped up. I got to go over, get some Buffalo Wild Wings. Hashtag not a sponsor, of course. Yeah, that's it for us. Anything you want to leave the peoples with, Aces?
No, everybody check out our episodes later in the week. Tomorrow, I'll let you know how much I crushed Mr. Hardways in our draft tonight.
We are looking very forward to that. As we say over here at SBI, you don't always have to bet, but when you do, wager wisely.